Hi guys, Lencac here. I think it's that time to take a look at another orphan that followed me home. Can't help it. They just do. They know a sucker when they see one. This guy just got. I have not done anything to it. Not even put a board down in the brush yet. I looked down the board. Board looks clean. Looks in terrific condition too. This is a obviously, as you can see, this is a walnut K31. I didn't even look up the date of manufacture or anything on it quite yet. I just wanted to get some video of it before I started doing my inspection process. So I got some reference to go by. But she looks like she's in pretty good shape. The walnut is has very few marks or anything in it that I think won't come out. So this guy ought to clean up real well. As you can see, I haven't done any checking of the throat on the barrel or any of that stuff yet. So anyways, let's turn it around and take a look at the other side. Okay, here's the other side of it. It's really good condition. The butt plate is hard to see. The lighting isn't good right now on it, but the butt plate's in a really nice shape. Still got most of its original bluing on it too, which is good. And nice sling cutout. It's still good and square with nice edges around the cutouts. Good, excellent marbling on the walnut. If this turns out half as good as it looks like it should, this thing's going to be terrific. It's been used, obviously. Like I say, I don't know what by eye the bore looks to be in great shape, but until I put my throat erosion gauge on it, headspace gauge in it, that sort of thing, I'll know more. It looks like it has a 800 serial number. I'm going to say 1944-ish would be my guess on it. I'll have to look up the date. But there you go, guys. I just wanted to, like I say, I wanted to get some video of it. Okay, guys. As you know, if you've seen in my other videos, when I pull the handguard off, before I do anything else, take it out of the stock or anything, I usually will stand the rifle on its butt, stand it straight up and down, and then I'll get an idea of what the barrel preload is at the front of the stock here. Now this one, when it's standing straight up, it has some positive barrel preloading, meaning it's got some pressure against the stock the way it's set. Not much. So when I see that they don't, when you stand them up and they actually have a little barrel preload, I'll lay them back down. And what I do is, I know it's rudimentary, but it's how I do it. And I'll take it. I'll use my my RCBS little trigger pull gauge. See it there? And what I'll do is I'll take it and I'll hold the stock. See, I'll just take it and I'll hold the stock and use my trigger pull gauge to kind of get an idea where it starts to pull that barrel loose from the stock. And so let's see here. And I can, right about there, right there. I can feel it in the stock moving right there. That looks like that has 20 ounces of barrel preload on that stock when laid horizontally. Alright, so that's my reference point there that I'm going to work from for the time being. Okay? Okay, here we are with it taken down. I didn't want to bore you guys with all the twisting of screws and all that. You already know how to do all that. But I did get it apart to start my my inspection process on it. And I believe I was correct. This was made in 1944. I would say probably in the latter part of the year. 51,900 of them made in 1944. The only year they made more was in 1941, and I think they made 54,000 and change that year. So, of course, that was wartime. They didn't know. The Swiss didn't know if they were going to be involved in a war or not, so I'm sure they were gearing up for it. And if you look, there's our walnut butt end of the stock. And it looks like it shows a June of 1944 stamping on it. And as usual, I always look to check for cracks around the upper screw hole. There are none. The butt end of this thing is in perfect, excellent condition. And moving along, we can see she's got the correct serial number on it, matching serial number, and of course there's your SIG little rifled logo. That's a SIG logo. Actually, these are built at the Swiss and Waffenfabrik, which is weapons factory, but they are made by SIG. And there is the Waffenfabrik, the WNF logo. And of course you can see you got the metal shim down in the front main screw well. Looks to be all in very nice shape. I think this is an original piece. Again, I think this was never rebuilt by the Arsenal or any of that kind of monkey business. I think this is as it was built and issued, and then taken out of service and left that way. And the wood is all very solid. Nice, no serious damage to it. Some handling dings and dents on it. The finish on it, of course, is, you know, typical military. Brush marks on the shellac or whatever finish they use on it. Maybe they use linseed oil on it or something. And of course the hand guard, same thing. Numbers matching hand guard. Nice, very nice piece of walnut there. And it's in very good condition also. Has only a few dings and dents on it that I'll have to deal with. I think just about everything on it will come out. Maybe a couple and there will have remnants of it. And of course here's our stripped down barreled receiver. Once again the usual perfect, excellent trigger on these. It's there. And if you can see it, let's see if we can get a... That's got the little rifle logo on it, which indicates that this is a SIG barrel. Okay. And of course got the typical combat sight on it. I'm sure it works fine too. I'll try it, make sure. And we got our bolt here, and the bolt shows the usual scuffing from use. No big deal. I have to take it apart yet. I'll do that when I check headspace on it. All in all, seems to be all commensurate with the proper amount of discoloration and tarnish from years. Of course, front barrel band, rear barrel band. The sling swivel is not terribly tight, but not bad either. So it shows a little usage. And much to my delight, as you can see, this one had the troop tag. And this shows fin. Let's see. Jonalfoss, Finn, Jonalfoss. There's a good Swiss name for you. 26, that's his birth date. And like I say, you would be looking for this rifle to have been issued to the soldier when that soldier is probably went into military service, maybe 18 to 20 years old. So if he was born in 26, 36, 46, this rifle was built late 1944. I would say that all matches. The other information there would be his address, I believe, and as you can see, we have a serial number on the back of it too. So that's good. Like I do believe, because of these things, I think that this is a completely original K31, issued one time and taken out of service. And trigger guard, of course, all nice condition. You know, I'll clean it up, whatever it needs. Magazine, matching number magazine, all very good condition. And that's about it. Screws. So I'm going to tear down the bolt on it. I'm going to check throat erosion with my throat erosion gauge and headspace gauge, and we'll go from there. Okay. Okay, I've broken down the bolt, of course, bolt plug, firing pin, cocking ring stem, main spring. I've removed the extractor from the bolt sleeve, and the bolt. When you take the extractor out, you're going to want to look right here at it, and see, you'll see some manufacturer factory marks there, the Swiss marking on it. But you're going to want to make sure there's no other, because they make oversized bolts in what are numbered as 5, 10, and 15, and those are millimeters. And so for you American guys, 5 millimeters is just a touch over 2 thousandths, and of course 10 millimeters is a touch over 4 thousandths, and 15 millimeters would be a touch over 6 thousandths. But this has an original bolt in it. It's a standard one, which they do not mark with a 0 or anything. It just has no number marking on it, which once again tells me that that's a once again original piece, because of the fact that it, as you can see, it does have the original barrel on it, matching number, and you can just tell by the stamping that's the original barrel. You can also make note there too. You see it? It's been stamped with a P on the top of the barrel. You see it there? That tells me that this was a private sale rifle, that this rifle, when it came out of military service, it was purchased by somebody, and in this case I'd have to say it was probably purchased by the person who this rifle was issued to, Finn. And he probably took it home and shot it or did whatever with it. I'll bet he maybe hunted with it or something, maybe even shot some competitions with it, because they use a lot of these things, these standard issue ones, for competition use. But it's got a P on it, which means it's not a private series, but it is a private sale rifle. So I think that adds a little bit of rarity to it, some interesting stuff. And of course, going down here to the op rod, you can see all very good. You're going to want to look at this spot on it to see, look for wear. That's where it interacts with the bolt and bolt sleeve, right? And then you're going to want to look along here again. As you can see, this would be where the release lever rides on it, and this has very, very little wear, very, very little. This thing is in excellent condition. So I'm going to take and check headspace now and throat erosion. Alright guys, I'm going to take and to check headspace, I'm put the bolt back in there, put the bolt plug back with it, line it up like that, get my op rod, put it in there, and we can slide it into there. Now, being that we still have the release lever in it, that provides a little bit of resistance to the bolt. See? But that's okay. For checking headspace, that'll work fine. And so let's take our headspace gauge here once again. This is a no-go gauge. If the bolt closes or goes into battery with this in place, that means you have too much headspace. And this headspace is 1 inch, 810 thousandths. That is your maximum dimension from the base of the from the bolt face actually to the datum line, which is the shoulder in the chamber, right the middle of the shoulder. So let's put it in and see how we do here. Boom. Excellent. You see that right there? Does not go into battery. Far from it, actually. So that's good. Looking at that, I'm going to say that this is how much I see sticking out there. I'm going to have to say that I'm going to guess that this has the typical 1-inch 804 thousandths headspace when I get and check the specific headspace on it. So anyways, that's there's that. Alright, so now let me get my throat erosion gauge here. Get the throat erosion gauge out and let's try it and see what it does. And I don't know how well you guys can see this or not, but that is terrific. That is actually shows just slightly less. That shows slightly less than 2, number 2. 2 is what I find a typically used military issue K31 is 2. The tightest I've ever seen on a brand new barrel was maybe 1.5. And this is slightly less than 2, so this barrel is in terrific condition. Actually, that's excellent, excellent throat erosion. This barrel basically is like brand new. Each whole number on this throat erosion gauge represents 1/1000th of an inch in wear at the throat of the diameter of that throat. Okay, so if that makes any sense to you guys. So I would say, at this point, mechanically, this thing appears to be in really nice shape. Very nice shape. And of course, it's got the commensurate mil-spec trigger. I haven't checked it, but I can just tell from my calibrated fingers that it's going to be about 32 ounces on the first stage and probably 75 to 80 ounce on the braking of it. So that's typically what they are. They're about all in, both first and second stage. Mil-spec K31 triggers are about 5 pounds. Anyways, that's what we got there. I'll pull the release lever out of it here and make sure that we got some good, that the action works good, the camming is all good on it. Okay, here's a little test that I do on them too, just something I check. I'm not sure if it has any relevance to anything, but after I've done a number of these in various conditions, I kind of get a feel for how things are supposed to not work on them. This is with the release lever removed. This is just the bolt, literally just the bolt sleeve, the plug, and the op rod. See, now that's with it when it goes into battery. What I want to see is I want to see this be able to support itself like that without going into battery of its own weight. Obviously, if I drop it from up here, it should go into battery. But even if I drop it from a relatively short distance, it should have some resistance to camming over in the bolt. See? So I'm looking for that. I've had a couple K31s that were used a lot. And this part of it was that little bit of camming over was, these things were so well worn that they would just fall into battery of their own weight. So I kind of take that as a little bit of indication of how they're worn.